Good evening, everybody. How are you tonight? I hope everybody's feeling okay. If you can see me and you can hear me, please type a Y or a yes into the chat over there. This is going to be about a 20-minute presentation. Then I'm going to leave some time at the end for you to ask questions if you've got any. And you can type them into the chat now. And, but I'm not going to answer any questions until afterwards. So let's go ahead and get started here. Hi, and welcome to the video training. This is Cathy Palmer of Listing Lifestyles, and today I'm going to show you how you can sell your house in the next 6 months for the most money possible. Now, I'm guessing that a lot of you have probably looked at many other videos before on how to sell your house, and the confusion is growing. And there's a lot of information out there, and there's over 6,500 realtors to choose from just in the Sarasota Manatee area alone. So the first thing I'd like to mention is that I know many of you are just exploring the process of selling your home. But for some of you, maybe you've tried to list your home before and either had a bad experience with an agent, or the home just didn't sell for some reason or another, or perhaps you tried to sell on your own and you were unsuccessful. And maybe you're concerned that there's just too much competition in the market and you won't succeed, or maybe you just simply don't know where to start. So let me assure you that this can be done, but it doesn't happen by accident. You need help from the right professional to make it happen. So some realtors are just out there looking for their name on a sign. They're going to list your house. They'll roll the dice and hope that it will sell with mediocre marketing and minimum effort on their part. However, I'm in the business of selling property, so I'm going to give you the essential tools you'll need to sell your house, not just put a sign in your front yard and keep my fingers crossed. And that's why I'm here today. With my systems, I'll show you how you can sell your house in the next 6 months for the most money possible. Now, my goal for this presentation is to show those ready to how to set themselves up for success and to help those that are on the fence decide if they're ready to sell their house for the most money. The only way to sell your house in the next 6 months for the most money possible is to prepare your house for success through the guidance of someone who knows the current real estate standards. So who is Cathy Palmer and why should you listen to me? Well, I had a realization a while back that people can sell their houses for the most money, but it doesn't happen haphazardly. It takes a lot of attention to detail. And as I've progressed through the years, I've seen so many sellers that whether they know it or not, have simply chosen to say no to making more money on the sale of their house. And I really want to change that by showing people just how they can sell their house for the most money. The trouble is that sellers don't always know the best way to find a highly qualified agent. They'll often just use their neighbor or maybe a friend or their nephew who happens to have a real estate license. And sometimes the person chosen uses these archaic marketing techniques that really require minimum effort and skill. You see, in this business, there are doers and there are dabblers, and many times sellers won't know the difference between these agents until it's just too late. I mean, I really have to shake my head each time I see a listing come on with so much potential, and I just envision the seller throwing thousands and many times tens of thousands of their hard-earned equity away. And they do this in a variety of ways, whether they've just chosen the wrong agent or they've simply not prepared their home for sale properly. And this has really led me to compile my findings into an easy-to-follow system that sells houses for the most money possible. And I want to share part of my system with you today so you can get the most money from the sale of your home. When I shared with some other agents that I was going to create a series of training videos that would help people sell their house for the most money, their reaction surprised me. Some were very supportive. They thought it was a great idea. Others didn't understand why I would give up my system secrets for free. And even others were afraid that, wouldn't it be used by other agents for their own gain? Or maybe people would just watch my training and try to sell on their own. And sure, all of these are possibilities, but it really kind of reminds me of how some companies try to replicate luxury retail brands into a very affordable version. For instance, you can purchase a handbag that looks similar to a high-end brand, but upon closer inspection, the quality, the materials, the attention to detail, all of this has been greatly compromised. So in the end, it may look fairly similar, but it really isn't. And this can be true in real estate as well. So each time I help a seller achieve their goals, it really solidifies for me that this was the right move for not only me, but for my business as well. And I take pride in knowing that the majority of my customer base is built on referrals from people that I've either worked with in the past or their friends and acquaintances. I also often receive referrals from other realtors in my area who entrust their customers to me, and that's really a badge of honor that I proudly wear. When a local colleague refers their customers to me, I take it as both a great responsibility to undertake as well as a great privilege. And I've shown enough homes to prospective buyers to know what they expect and just how easy it is for sellers to miss the mark if they're not getting proper guidance. Again, I don't just want my name on a sign. I want to sell houses, so I've developed a system to make it easy for sellers to say yes to getting the most money for their house. And you probably don't want to become a realtor, but you do want to know exactly what it takes to get the most money for your house. You deserve the best chance of selling your house to the highest bidder instead of rolling the dice, hoping you'll get a couple showings and maybe someone will make an offer. I recently had a listing that was in an estate, and it was really in a state of disrepair. The sellers were very receptive to my system and decided to invest some money preparing the property for sale instead of just selling it at a lower price based on its current condition. They did a very deep, thorough cleaning and a few minor updates. And once the listing went live, we had 15 showings in the first 2 days, and the property quickly went under contract. They got the price they were hoping for and were just overjoyed with the result. I had another seller recently that had a home that they had really lovingly maintained and kept spotless. However, they had a very eclectic design style and just a ton of sporting memorabilia. I mean, they had framed jerseys and signed pucks and autographed baseballs and hats and newspaper clippings and just pretty much anything you could imagine from all of the major sports teams in a particular city. So they agreed to stage their home by removing the sporting items and rearranging the furniture in the rooms to make it more appealing to the majority of buyers. And this property sold in 3 days. Now, not all listings are going to sell that quickly, but if your house is priced appropriately, if it's clean, and if it's appealing to the majority of buyers, you will have a successful sale. So now I'm going to transition into the 3 secrets that I had talked about. And the first one's going to be the one thing that sellers do that put them at the mercy of their buyer. And this is not having a home inspection. In my years of selling real estate, only my buyer, Maria, had an inspection that discovered no issues with the home. And the home inspector, Tony, had been in business for over 15 years, and that was only the 3rd time he had ever performed a perfect inspection. So it just goes to show you that a house with no conditions, they're really quite rare. So I worked with a seller recently named Jimmy, and he was sure that his home was in great condition, but much to his surprise, he had over $5,000 worth of repairs done to the house prior to closing. When he was presented with the repair request, by then it was just too late, and he was at the mercy of his buyers. So I'm going to ask you, why would you have the buyer surprise you with this unexpected list of items that need attention, or worse, they decide to cancel the contract entirely? It's so important to know your home's condition prior to the sale. So you're probably thinking that, my home is in great shape and I can't imagine anything being wrong with it. Am I right? Well, you're also probably thinking that it could cost you a lot of money to have the inspection and the repairs done first, but the reality is this could actually cost you less. Knowing the deficiencies in your home and revealing them to the buyer takes away their bargaining chip and leaves nothing to negotiate. Often the repairs necessary can be performed inexpensively by a handyman or even by the seller if they're repair savvy, and this can save you a lot of money. However, once the home goes under contract, the seller is usually obligated to get the repair done by a licensed professional. So I'll go back to Jimmy again. One of the deficiencies that was found, he could have easily fixed in a couple hours for less than $50. Instead, he had to pay a professional over $700 to complete the repair. If he had only agreed to a pre-listing inspection, he would have saved hundreds of dollars in just that instance alone. I mean, could you imagine if that happened to you? I really think that this is so important and so often overlooked. Just know the condition of your home and reveal it to the prospective buyer. That way, when they have their own inspection done and the same conditions are found, there's going to be no surprises, and there goes their leverage for negotiating these repairs. So the second thing that I'm going to talk about tonight is how to avoid this pitfall on closing day that could cause a delay. It could cost thousands of dollars or even the whole deal. And this is simply moving out improperly. There's a very specific timing of things that happen just prior to the close, and you should be made aware of what stays with the property, what is to be removed, and when you're expected to vacate. It is a necessity to know how you are required to perform based on your contract. So I had the buyer for a property a couple years ago, and the seller wasn't even planning on moving out until after the closing. They had no idea that the buyer was supposed to take possession at the closing. Thus, we had to just delay the closing. I always have a discussion with my sellers to be sure that that they know what's going to remain with the property and when they're expected to move. I also recently worked with buyers that during the final walkthrough, we discovered that all the window treatments had been removed, and they needed to be returned to the property at the seller's expense because they were to be included under our contract. Again, it needs to be made very clear to both parties what will be conveying with the property, what's to be removed, and when the seller needs to vacate. So the third thing we're going to talk about tonight is the mistake you could easily be making that will be crucial to your profitability. And that's just choosing the right realtor. And this is going to be one of the most important decisions you will make. Again, there's about 6,500 realtors in our area. And as I'm sure you've heard before, that about 20% of the agents will sell about 80% of the property. I've realized that there are real estate agents who love this job and are great at it. But as you can also imagine, I've met many who are in this as a hobby, or they think it's an easy way to make money. They have no attention to detail, and really they're just kind of flying by the seat of their pants with this. They've not devoted their careers to discovering the best techniques to sell homes for the most money. And they most of the time don't make it in the industry very long. This is a much more difficult job than many new agents are prepared for. And again, my goal is not only to sell your home, but I want you to refer me to your friends and family for years to come. And I am proud to say that over half of my business is either repeat customers or referrals from those that I've worked with before and those that I know personally. So you're probably thinking, how am I going to know when I have the right agent? You need to ask questions that are important to you, but you also need to ask questions that are important about the realtor and about the brokerage. For instance, you should ask questions like, what is your business philosophy? Is being a realtor your full-time job, or do you just kind of do this part-time? Ask them if they can provide you with customer testimonials or references. Ask what their office hours are. Are they open 7 days a week with an agent on duty to answer calls? And a very important one, who's going to cover for them when they're gone or when they go out of town? Oftentimes when a realtor goes out of town, then your property goes on vacation with it. Nobody's there taking care of it. If something comes through and something needs done, it's going to have to wait till I come back, and that's unacceptable. Another question you should be asking is, do they insist on professional photography? You should also ask how your showings are going to be scheduled and how you are going to receive feedback. Another good question to ask is, how often will you be kept informed about your listing, and how will you be kept informed about it? Another good question, ask about the brokerage a little bit. Find out if it's a franchise or if they're part of a network with local and global connections. And lastly, another great question is ask about the brokerage's luxury affiliations and how that can benefit your property. So I had a listing appointment recently in a luxury condo with a lot of inventory in this particular neighborhood. So I met with the seller. I explained my system, made suggestions for him on how he could get the most money. And of course, he wanted to get the most money. But instead of using my system, which he was going to have to put a little bit of work in to make the property, in the best condition that it could be, he decided to go with a discount realtor instead. I guess he did this hoping that the tiny difference that he would be paying in commissions would just, pay him better at the end of the sale. So the realtor took his own photos, probably with his phone, The seller kept his home in the same exact condition from the day I saw it. And I mean, I'm sure already by now you're thinking, I don't see how this method can work. And, really, it likely won't. This particular seller decided to ignore pretty much all the advice that I gave him, and really most realtors in my position would give him, and instead decided to hire someone to negotiate and market the sale of his home that is not even able to negotiate his own fee. So is this making sense? I mean, it's just shocking to me to see this when it happens. Having your property presented in this way will likely end up with him receiving less than market value simply because of the way it's been represented. So let me ask you a question. Are you excited about what we just talked about? You feel like maybe you've learned a little bit more. Maybe you're still a little bit overwhelmed, but you're starting to feel a little bit more informed and confident. Well, I hope so. And I'm already successful with this. This already works for me. But this isn't about me. It's about you and how I can help you get the most money out of the sale of your house. So now I'm just going to kind of discuss a little snapshot of what it looks like to work with me. So the first thing we do is just simply schedule a quick telephone interview to see if and how I would be able to help you. The second thing we would do is I would come to your house, would complete a tour where you would walk me through the property. You'd discuss its distinctive characteristics, different features, maybe the updates that you've made recently. And I take a lot of notes that I can refer to later about your house. And I might even take a quick photo or two while I'm there. The next thing is we'll discuss the time frame of the sale. We'll also discuss, the circumstances surrounding this sale and really any of your needs and desires that you're hoping to obtain as an outcome from this sale. From there, we'll go through a couple possible marketing plans about your house, maybe iron out a few details and kind of start to get a bit of a game plan. And then from there, you really just decide if you want my help to get the most money for your house. Immediately after that, my team can go to work for you and begin marketing your house. So is this making sense? I mean, are you saying no right now by not using someone with experience and a proven system to get you the most money? You owe it to yourself to use an innovator in the industry who works with passion and attention to detail. So you might be thinking you can't get started with this because it's just going to cost too much money to prepare your house for sale. But it's not a cost. This is an investment. So let's take your car, for instance, and your car is a depreciating item. If you were to trade in your old car for a brand new car, you would probably go get the car detailed. You'd get the French fries out of the back seat, clean out the trunk, maybe even find out why the check engine light is on in hopes to get the best value for your trade-in. So let's say you spend $100 getting it detailed in hopes to get $15,000 as a trade-in value. That would be about the same percentage as if you put $5,000 into your house, hoping to get $750,000 for a sale price. So when I was figuring all of this stuff out, I ran into a big roadblock. I knew that I could help people get the most money for their home, but I just didn't have a way to communicate with the majority of sellers to let them know that my system can help. So I've created an avenue to share it for free with anyone who is interested. Now, you don't have to recreate the wheel. The work's been done for you, and following these simple steps will save time and money from being wasted. But how can a simple system get you more money? And the answer is easy. Almost all buyers look for the same things and negotiate the same way. Buyers do not need a system to show them what they want, but sellers still need to learn how to give them what it is that these buyers desire. Tonight, I'm going to give you the list of those very things that the buyers desire, and it's called my 10 musts when selling. And it's kind of like the 10 commandments of selling your home. I found that over the years, for the most part, buyers like and dislike the same things and are also appreciative of certain extra steps that a seller has gone in preparing their home. So you're not going to need to guess what they're looking for. You will find out exactly what buyers want to see in a home. I used to struggle with making sure that my sellers had their homes properly prepared for each showing. So then I decided to have a staging checklist for them to review before each showing. By using this checklist, we could make sure that nothing was ever overlooked. And again, there's no need to reinvent the wheel. I'll give you my general list on how to prepare your home each time you have a showing. So you can get these two materials at listinglifestyles.com/bonus. And there you can download both of those for your use if you choose to. So if I had two choices, or really, I guess you have three choices, really. And the first one is maybe you don't need or even want the most money for your house. Maybe your return on investment is just really not that important. But for most of you, it is. This is one of your biggest investments and you need the most money. So your second choice is to just hire anybody and keep your fingers crossed that they have some basic amount of knowledge in order to get this home sold at any price. And your third option is to simply reach out, connect with me, and then together we can discover if and how I'm able to help you. All it takes is a simple phone call or an email to get started. And the market is ever changing. This is a great time to sell right now. The perfect buyer could be looking for your house right now. So I hope this helps and that it's given you some value. To watch my training videos, you can find me on YouTube. Just type in Cathy Palmer Realtor and it should pop right up. And make sure to come back frequently because I often add new videos. You can also get more information on me and my system by visiting listinglifestyles.com. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take your questions, and while people are putting into the chat log different questions that they have, I'll go ahead and I'll go over one or two that are pretty typical that I get a lot. So the first one is usually, I'm out of the area, but I'm interested in selling my home in Florida. And that's fine. Everything we do can pretty much be done by email. As long as you're comfortable me going into your home, or perhaps you have a neighbor that has access to your home. So that is not an issue. Another question. Oh, you can tell we're live. That's my dog barking at someone driving by here. Sorry about that. Another question that I get a lot is, we want to sell, but I just don't know where to start. And it's a great idea to contact a realtor early on so that they can tell you where you really need to concentrate your efforts. And they can kind of give you an idea of what the market's like in your area right now, because we do have these little micro markets. On the whole, we may be very busy with buyers in your area, but maybe your particular neighborhood has a lot of listings or something along those lines. So it is important to talk with someone early on. Another question that I get a lot is, how much do you charge? And I keep my fees competitive with other brokerages in our area. I strive to have the most competitive level of service and quality. And again, I really caution when you'll use another agent that either tells you that you can get the same quality for less or will negotiate down their commission immediately. Because keep in mind, the person who cannot negotiate their own fee is going to be the same person negotiating the equity right out of your home. So, thank you very much. I've had a great night. I hope, again, that this was helpful to you. Please contact me with any other questions that you have, and have a great night. Thank you very much.